So today we're going to be talking about the Finalmouse Starlight 12. I own both the Last Legend and the 10s in medium, so I'll be talking about both of them today. I know that this mouse is not available new from Finalmouse anymore, but it has been my daily driver for quite some time now, and I really wanted to do a review on it. The secondhand market currently seems to have a decent amount of availability, so it's not unattainable if it seems appealing to you. I picked my 10s up for $180 basically brand new on Facebook Marketplace, and my Last Legend for $200. My idea was to put glass skates on the 10s while retaining the PTFE feet on the Last Legend. I know that recently Finalmouse has been releasing batches of its new ULX. While this mouse looks like a great option, it does not have a Magnesium offering. Personally, I have fallen in love with the feel of Magnesium mice. I cannot see myself going back to a plastic mouse. This, of course, is personal preference. There is something just so special about the feel of Magnesium. If you're interested in the Finalmouse shape and like plastic mice, the new ULX may be a great option for you. Let's talk about the Finalmouse Starlight 12. I'll be using a Logitech G Pro X Superlight for comparison, as it's pretty much an industry standard and widely used mouse at this point. First of all, the Magnesium shell. It's absolutely a wonderful feel, and personally it is my standard material for mice these days. Going back to a plastic mouse feels wrong. The clicks give great feedback, and both the Kale GM 8.0s in the 10s and the Bind Omron 20Ms in the Last Legend have been holding up great over time. There is a decent amount of pre-travel in both of these mice. This doesn't bother me, as I have heavy fingers and press my mouse buttons pretty hard. However, if it does bother you, there are many who mod the mouse using aluminum tape, which will take out most of the pre-travel. The click requires a bit more force than my Logitech G Pro X Superlight, however the pre-travel feels almost the same. The side buttons are probably some of my favorite feeling side buttons out of any mouse. I definitely prefer them over the Logitech G Pro X Superlight side buttons, as they just have a nice shape that feels like it grips onto my thumb. Pressing them feels more like an actuation with a smooth release, while the Superlight side buttons feel kind of bouncy in comparison. As for the scroll wheel, both my 10s and Last Legend scroll wheels have been functioning flawlessly through regular usage. I bind my jump to scroll wheel in a lot of games, and I constantly b-hop in Valorant. My scroll wheel gets a lot of abuse. Supposedly some people have had issues pop up with the 10 scroll wheel encoder, but I have not experienced this yet. The Last Legend was upgraded to a TC Gold encoder, which is supposed to have solved any potential issue in this area. As for the shape, if you prefer a large hump, you will probably want to look elsewhere. The shape is comfortable and low profile. I use a hybrid palm claw grip, and it feels like it's the perfect amount of hump for my hand on the medium version of the Starlight 12. All Starlight 12s come in either a medium or a small. With my hand size, the medium fits my grip perfectly. Aesthetically, these mice look fantastic. The colorways are appealing, the finishes are clean, and I think they really capture a premium look. The scroll wheel on the Last Legend looks amazing and complements the mouse extremely well in my opinion. The 10s has a glossy black stripe down the middle of it, which I think is a fantastic detail that doesn't compromise the grippiness of the mouse, as it's such a small portion of the surface area. The engraved Starlight on the edge of the right mouse button really ties it all together for me. As for the software, these mice do not have customizable software. You have access to 400, 800, 1600, and 3200 DPI via the DPI switch on the top. This should be suitable for most needs. There are very few pro players who use higher than a 1600 DPI in any FPS title. Personally, I use 3200 as it feels best to me, and even I am an outlier in this preference. Using a higher DPI to an extent will provide less latency. As a side note, I highly recommend experimenting with different DPIs. You may find that you like 1600 with 2 in-game cents better than 800 with 4 in-game cents. While on paper these numbers will provide the same mouse travel distances, there is a difference in feel. Be careful with going too high DPI, as depending on the sensor and mouse manufacturer, going too high will apply a smoothing element which will increase latency. In competitive gaming, we want the lowest latency possible. Let's talk about polling rates. A lot of mice lately have been coming out with polling rates higher than 1K, so let's discuss the pros and cons for a moment. As for the pros, you have potentially a smoother aiming feel. For the cons, you have higher CPU usage and shorter battery life. So while a 4K polling rate can provide a smoother feel, personally I feel the cons outweigh the pros in this scenario. Some people have even experienced unplayable performance as a result of switching to 4K polling rate. For me, this is an endgame mouse in current technology. I know that there are a lot of high polling rate mice coming out lately, but I truly believe that 1K is still superior in a lot of ways. When playing FPS at high refresh rates, we are already pushing the CPU as hard as we can. Adding anything extra to this seems detrimental unless the gain is substantial. Coupled with the significantly shorter battery life, I do not see the pros of high polling rate outweighing the cons at this moment. The Starlight 12s have fantastic shape, look, feel, and is generally just a pleasure to use daily. For me, Magnesium is king. That's all for this video. If you like the content, please subscribe by hitting the bell as it helps me tremendously. You can also find me streaming Monday through Friday on Twitch from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you next time.